You've heard the hype about AI, right? It feels like it's everywhere, changing everything. But what's really going on behind the curtain? Today, we're going to pull it back and look at the real, complex, and fascinating challenges that experts are wrestling with every single day to turn all that promise into reality.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with a quick reality check, then get into the weeds with the data dilemma, try cracking the so-called black box, look at how tomorrow's AI is being built, and then we'll wrap it all up with a vision for a future centered on, well, us, humans.
All right, first up, the AI reality check. This is all about closing that huge gap between what AI could do and what it can actually do right now. Take self-driving cars. The potential is massive. We all see it. But the reality? They can still get totally thrown off by a sudden thunderstorm or a weirdly marked construction zone. Getting AI to work reliably in our messy, unpredictable world, that's the real game.
And it's true, machine learning is baked into our phones, our Netflix queues, pretty much everything. But here's the thing. It's not magic, not even close. Behind every slick recommendation is a mountain of really tough technical and practical problems. For example, think about an AI sorting job applications. It could accidentally learn biases from old data and start filtering out amazing candidates. Nailing these kinds of deep-seated issues is absolutely crucial.
So what's one of the biggest roadblocks holding AI back? Honestly, it pretty much all boils down to one thing: data. There's this classic saying in the field, garbage in, garbage out, and man, has it never been more true. At the end of the day, an AI system is just a mirror, reflecting the data you train it on.
And that data problem really breaks down into these 4 core challenges. First, you've got quality. Real-world data is just messy and inconsistent, which can seriously confuse a model. Then there's quantity. A lot of these models are hungry. They need massive amounts of data to learn, and sometimes you just don't have it. Third, and this one is a huge deal, is bias. If your data is skewed, your model's predictions are going to be skewed. Simple as that. And finally, privacy. This isn't even a technical choice, it's a must. Protecting sensitive info is non-negotiable.
And this slide just nails the difference, right? On one side, you have the dream data set, perfectly clean, huge, totally unbiased. And on the other side, you've got what we actually work with. Data that's noisy, incomplete, packed with hidden biases, and all wrapped up in strict privacy rules. Bridging that gap, well, that's a massive part of the job. Okay, so let's imagine for a second we solved the data problem completely. We've got perfect data. We'd still be left with this other giant puzzle. What is actually going on inside the AI's head? This is what we call the black box problem, and it's all about trust.
A great way to think about it is like a genius chef who cooks you the most amazing meal you've ever had. But they have no idea how they did it. They can't give you the recipe. That's what some of our best AI models are like. They give these stunningly accurate answers, but their internal logic is so ridiculously complex that no human can actually follow it. And you can see why that's a massive problem in fields like medicine, right? A doctor has to understand why an AI suggests a treatment before they can trust it with a patient's life.
So how do we fix this? Well, there's this whole fascinating field popping up called explainable AI, or XAI. It's all about creating tools that can peek inside that black box. They basically try to translate the AI's complex math into something a human expert can actually look at and say, okay, I get it. I see why it made that call. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to this question. If an AI system flags a critical part in a jet engine or denies you a mortgage, how can we possibly trust that decision if we can't understand the why behind it? Without that transparency, building real trust is it's impossible. And the hurdles don't stop there. Let's quickly hit these 3. First, scalability. Training the biggest AI models takes a mind-boggling amount of computing power, and that means a mind-boggling amount of energy. Next, integration. Your shiny new AI model is totally useless if it can't talk to the 20-year-old software running the factory. And finally, overfitting. This is when a model basically memorizes the training data too well. It's like a student who crams for a test. They ace the practice questions, but fall apart the second they see a problem they haven't seen before.
Okay, that was a lot of problems, I know, but here's the fun part. For every one of those challenges, there are brilliant people working on some seriously cool solutions. So now, let's look at how we're building the next generation of AI.
This table lays it out beautifully. For every challenge, there's a promising path forward. To fight the black box problem, we're building more interpretable models from the ground up. To deal with that insane energy use, there's a whole movement towards sustainable AI. For data shortages, we're seeing cool stuff like decentralized learning, where models can learn without data ever leaving its source. And to fix that overfitting problem, new techniques are helping models take what they learned in one area and apply it to a totally new one.
And you know, a key idea weaving through all of these solutions is this concept of human-in-the-loop systems. The best way to think about it is like a pilot and a co-pilot. The AI is the super advanced co-pilot, sifting through tons of data, flagging things, offering suggestions, but the human expert, they're always the pilot, in the captain's seat, making the final critical call. It's all about partnership, not replacement.
So this idea of humans and AI working together, that's really at the heart of the whole grand vision for this technology. We're zooming out now. It's not just about making smarter code, it's about architecting a future that is fundamentally, intentionally human-centered.
The big, long-term goal is something researchers are calling a system of systems intelligence. Now I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea behind it is incredibly powerful. It's a future where all these different specialized AIs, smart devices, and digital networks can all talk to each other securely and team up to solve problems that are way too big and complex for any single system to handle alone.
And to build that future the right way, it has to stand on these 4 pillars. These are non-negotiable. Transparency, because we need trust. Adaptability, because the world is always changing. Cooperation, because that's how we'll solve the really big problems. And sustainability, to make sure all this progress is actually responsible and built to last.
And really, this quote from our source material by Dr. Ahmad Humezi Helmi just ties it all together perfectly. The finish line isn't just a smarter machine. The real goal, the true north, is a future that is ethical, that is data-driven, and most importantly, that is always, always centered around people.
So as we've seen, this whole journey with AI is filled with some incredible possibilities, but also some really serious challenges. As these systems get woven more and more deeply into our lives, we have to think about where we draw the line. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. What is one decision that you believe should always, no matter what, require a human?